Everything's Fine on 93.9 Dublin South FM.
Good afternoon, I'm Charmaine Colvin, and here's your weekly news roundup on Apna Radio 93.9 Dublin South FM. There are just under 2 weeks left of India's general election 6-week voting schedule, which started on the 19th of April. Voter turnout has been lower than previous elections, causing concern for Modi's BJP party that some of its core supporters have failed to engage. Modi, who is hoping to secure a rare third term in office, is also facing stronger opposition than anticipated in a number of states. Election experts and Indian financial markets are adjusting initial forecasts of a landslide win for the BJP, and with no exit polls allowed until all voting is completed on the 1st of June, it is hard to judge how well or poorly candidates are doing. Most analysts, however, believe Modi will retain a majority in the 543-seat parliament when all the votes are counted on the 4th of June. The current trend suggests Modi will be re-elected, but with a reduced majority. Initially, Modi was projected to win up to 3/4 of the seats, but after the first two phases of voting, analysts believe the chances of the BJP getting above 362 seats, the two-thirds majority necessary to bring changes in the constitution, are now compromised. India's Russian oil imports rose to a 9-month high in April, after shipments on non-sanctioned tankers operated by Russia's largest shipping company, Sovcomflot, resumed. Refiners in India stopped briefly importing Russian oil in tankers belonging to Sovcomflot after the company's ships, along with its 14 tankers, were designated by the US in February as being in breach of Western sanctions. The West has imposed sanctions against Russia since it invaded Ukraine in 2022 and has placed price caps on oil and oil products loaded at Russian ports aimed at cutting Moscow's oil revenue that funds the war. India, the world's third biggest oil importer and consumer, is Russia's top customer for Russian seaborne oil. The Dali, the ship that smashed into the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore, was refloated this week after being stranded for nearly 8 weeks. The crash, which happened on the 26th of March, caused the bridge to collapse, killing 6 construction workers. A mostly Indian crew of 21 have been left on board the ship, and union officials say morale has understandably dipped, with their phones confiscated by the FBI and limited communication with the shore. The ship, which lost power before veering off course and striking the bridge, sent around 4,000 tons of debris into the Patapsco River. The investigation is still ongoing, and the mostly Indian crew will have to remain on board for the foreseeable future. The City of Baltimore has sued the ship's owners, Grace Ocean Private Limited, and its manager, Synergy Marine Private Limited, alleging gross negligence and recklessness. The companies have asked a court to limit their liability for the incident. Authorities in the state of Maryland estimate it will cost up to $1.9 billion and take more than 4 years to rebuild the bridge. More than 40 flamingos have been killed after an aircraft hit them in the western Indian city of Mumbai, sparking anger among environmentalists who blame excessive construction for the tragedy. The Emirates flight was carrying more than 300 passengers and made a safe landing despite the incident. Thousands of flamingos migrate to Mumbai annually around November, making the city's wetlands their home for a few months. Their arrival draws in huge crowds of locals and tourists who gather to take photos of the spectacle. Environmentalists believe power cables in the area were to blame for the tragedy, with the flamingos trying to overpass high power lines being caught off guard and colliding with the Emirates aircraft. The incident has renewed criticism around construction activities near Mumbai's coastal areas. An airport due to be built in Navi Mumbai, another area popular with flamingos, is also of concern to environmentalists, who fear that the construction and traffic could result in more flamingo fatalities. Manthan, or The Churning in English, a 134-minute 1976 film directed by renowned filmmaker Shyam Benegal, is making its premiere this weekend at the Cannes Film Festival. 50 years after it was originally made, the carefully restored fictionalised narrative documents the daily cooperative movement that transformed India from a milk-deficient nation to the world's leading milk producer. The film is inspired by a man called Verghese Kurian, known as the Milkman of India, for revolutionising milk production in India. India today accounts for nearly a quarter of global milk production. So that's all from me. You have been listening to the news on Apna Radio 93.9 Dublin South FM.
Indeed, you've been listening to Charmaine Colvin at Apna Radio, broadcasting at 93.9 Dublin South FM.